perfect mess is my perfect mess. Perfect mess is my perfect mess.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Perfect Mess Podcast, and this is episode 28. So I'd like to welcome you guys. Today is going to be, I'm recording tonight. Tonight is going to be one of them short episodes where I kind of just share with you something, a little short story of something that I recently went through probably about 3 days ago, maybe 2 days ago, that I think some of you should probably hear, and maybe it'll get you focused on how to handle certain situations that may be stressful, that may be trying, that may be getting you out of your peace. You know what I mean? I talk about that a lot about your peace and your time being very precious and not wasting it on not only things or people that are going to just get you out of your zone. And I had a moment like that recently where I had to step aside from my situation and do something for somebody and then refocus, and then some things turned around for me, and it made me realize always keep focused on the things that got me to where I am. So if you're like me, you kind of gone through this journey where you've had to learn how to navigate stressful times, stressful things that you've been going through in life, whether it be the coronavirus stuff that we're dealing with right now, whether it be parenting, whether it be marital issues or relationship issues, or just anything, job issues, whatever it is. We all deal with these things. None of us are immune to any of that stuff. So some of that stuff can get so stressful at times that we forget the things that got us to where we are currently. And a lot of you, if you've listened to this podcast, I'm in a much better place these days. I often share with you guys the things that I am doing that are helping me, and I also share with you the days that I have a hard time. And the other day I had a hard time. So let's jump into it real quick. Give me 1 second. So sorry, I'm still getting the sound issues set up here in the new place, so bear with me if you hear some echoing and whatnot. Anyways, before we get started, make sure to check out raymolina.com. That is the website. Please bookmark it. Please share it. Again, you can listen to the podcast there. You can read my reviews for any books that I'm reading. I share Amazon links there for books that if you like what I shared on a book that I read, you can buy it. I share the author page and whatnot, so you guys can do that. I've got merchandise. I've got all kinds of stuff on there. If you're on YouTube, I'm wearing the Perfect Mess Podcast t-shirt right now. That is available on my website. And social media, you can follow me on Instagram. My name is It's Ray Molina, and the podcast Instagram is The Perfect Mess Pod. Excuse me, I almost had a brain fart there. It's The Perfect Mess Pod. So you can follow us on Instagram under both of those names. And what else? What else can I give you? Oh, for those who have been donating, thank you. Anything helps, man. I appreciate you guys so much. And like I said, I'm just trying to grow this thing into something bigger than what it is. So if you would like to do something generous and you would like to donate to the podcast, you can go to Cash App. They are not a sponsor. It's just the app that I like to use for sponsorships. So if you have Cash App, my name there is $ It's Ray Molina. You can donate to the podcast there, and anything is appreciated. So thank you so much. But the best way to help me out with this podcast is to like it, follow it, subscribe, share, and leave a review. And you can do that on Apple. You can do that on Spotify, and any of the podcast apps that you may use. All right. Anchor, Google, you name it, Stitcher, whatever. Please leave a review. Please follow. Please subscribe. And if you like the podcast, please share it. So moving forward. So I had this thing going on with my car. Okay. My car I love my car. I run that thing to the ground, and it is a monster. It's just got this little car, and I love it. But every now and then I have these issues, and I'm not a crazy mechanic. I used to have classic cars, and if you are a classic car lover, then it was always easier to fix those cars, because just based on the sound you could usually tell what needed to be fixed, and usually a wrench and a screwdriver or whatever, and voila, it's fixed, right? Excuse me, I'm sipping on some tea. But these new cars, something happens, a light goes on, you have no clue. If you're not some mechanic with these new age cars, you have no clue what the hell's going on. So I was having these issues recently, and they were issues that I had previously. Probably about a year ago, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I had an issue where my car kept telling me that I was overheating. It was saying, stop the car, engine heat. Please stop the car and pull over safely, like a red light would blink. And my car wasn't overheating, but for some reason, something was sending a signal to my car that was telling it was overheating. So what happened was, I took this car to the dealership. They pulled my reservoir tank that had the the antifreeze, the coolant overflow tank, and because it's a compressor, it's compressed. If there's a crack or anything there that gets any air into it or whatever, it'll send a signal over to the engine. It'll say that we're overheating, and that's not the case. So the first time this happened, it was a crack, so I had to pay to get it replaced, and voila, got it fixed. So fast forward to last week, probably for the last week and a half, it was happening again. And I said, okay, I must have done something. I must have cracked this thing again, or they're plastic, so plastic breaks, it melts, whatever. So I'm thinking, okay, but usually the way it works is, because it's really not overheating, you could turn the car off and turn it back on, and it'll go away. It'll do it twice, and then it'll go away, and then you won't. When you're driving, you won't hear it again. It'll just go away. But it was getting worse. Like, I actually had to pull over because it wouldn't let me accelerate. So this started happening a lot, and I'm like, okay, something else is wrong. So I'm going through this thing, and I'm, finally I have my kids with me, and they're like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm checking, I put my, we're pulled over at night, and I'm checking my my reservoir for leakage, and I don't feel anything. Like, I'm going like this, and I don't feel no fluid or nothing around it. And I'm thinking, okay, there's no leak, whatever. I get online, I look for a reservoir tank. I'm thinking, okay, I just got to replace it again. I find one. It's like $50-$60 or whatever at AutoZone. And I'm like, all right. So I take my kids, I drop them off with their mom, and I'm super frustrated, but I try not to show my kids that I'm frustrated. I'm angry, because I'm really getting irritated, because I have things to do once I drop my kids off. I have to work, and I'm just always using my car. I drive a lot. So I'm pretty pissed off. I'm getting irritated that I'm like, yo, I'm finally in the green here. I don't need to be spending more money, especially on a car. So I'm thinking, okay, this car is great. I've only had it for 3.5 years. Maybe I just need to go upgrade, and get into something else. That's where my head's at right now. That's how frustrated I am. But anyways, I pull up to AutoZone. Well, first, before I go to AutoZone, I grab something to eat, because I'm getting angry, and I know I didn't eat. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting even more pissed off because I haven't eaten. So I ate. And then I got my food, and I sat in the AutoZone parking lot and just ate before I went in there. And they had a reservoir there. I had called, and they said they would hold it for me. But as I was sitting there mad, this is where things change. I get a I get a DM, and from a partner of mine out of Omaha, Nebraska, my boy Rolando. And he says, hey, what's that book you're reading? And this is on Instagram. Mind you, I had just gotten done eating. I'm pretty pissed off. I'm sitting in my car. It keeps stalling on me, and I'm just really I'm through the roof. So I get this DM during that time, and he says, "What's that book you're reading?" Because I often share books. I share screenshots of pages of books that I'm reading, and I look and I realize it's a passage from a Bible. And it's this. It's funny because I just shared this book on the last podcast, episode 27. But it was this book, Jesus Calling, and every day, I read the chapter for the day, or I read the page for the day, and then I share it. And a lot of people that follow me, they like that because if they don't have this book, they appreciate that I put this up. So I try to do it as much as I can every day. Sometimes I read it and I just forget to share the page and whatnot, but usually I share it. So that's what he was talking about. So he was asking me what book was that. So I told him, and he's like, man, I need that. That was a good passage. And Rolando's father had just passed away, and he was a deacon, so he was super into the church. And Rolando, although he is connected in that way to the church, he will tell you himself he hasn't necessarily followed. He's got that, that base in him, in his heart, but he hasn't necessarily followed the steps. That's what we are. We try to figure out life for ourselves. But anyways, Rolando's father just passed away. Unfortunately, he caught COVID, and it got really bad for him. And he's a lot older, and he was, scratch that. I won't go into too many details because it's personal. But he caught COVID. He was fighting. He was on his way back to pulling through, and then it took a turn for him, and he didn't pull through. So Rolando has really been, me and him have been talking a lot on Instagram, sending voice messages back to each other, and talking through this. I've been giving him the word. He's been helping me with some stuff that I've been kind of stressed out about, and we've been sharing things, and I can tell he's really trying to get back with God and do that, because I know he knows his father would love that and would want that for him. So anyways, to make a long story shorter, he says, man, I need that. And I said, you know what? I said, give me your address. He goes, why? I said, I'll send you one. He said, no, I can get on Amazon and buy it. I said, no. I said, you know what? I've sent these books to numerous people I care about. I said, let me do that for you. And he sent me his address. I get on Amazon. I find it for like less than $5, and punch it in, pay for it, and I send it. And that was that. I said, hey, it'll be there next week. He's like, damn, bro, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. I said, nah, man, if I can do anything to help bring you back and get you back with the Lord, like people did for me, I want to do that. You're a great friend to me. You've opened your doors to me. You've opened your home with your family to me and my friends when we're on tour. Thank you so much. This is the least I could do. And, I've told him that plenty of times on the phone, and when we're in person, when we're in Omaha, I've told him that. I just appreciate this guy so much. So it was the least I could do, right? So, mind you, during this time, I'm not even thinking about my car anymore, right? I'm not even thinking about it anymore. I'm no longer stressed. I took time away, and I said, I took time away from myself and being upset and thinking about my situation. And I said, and I basically did something and helped bring something from God, from Jesus, to a friend of mine. Without even thinking about what I was doing, I just did it. And I sit there and I'm still not realizing what I just did. And I go, man, I don't want to buy this tank. I start my car. I get out of the car, I pop the hood, car's running, and I'm looking and I'm like feeling around on the tank again one more time, and I can't feel any liquid. Turn the car off and I'm just standing there. I'm like, man. I put my phone, because this is night, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I grab my phone and I put the light up to the tank and I'm looking, and it's, it's stained because that, the fluid that you put in there, sometimes it'll leave a little line, a stain. And I see this line, but I'm like looking closer and I'm like, it doesn't even look like there's any fluid in there. And I look again, I'm like, hold on. And I tested, because, you're not supposed to open these caps when the engine's hot, because that stuff will shoot out and it'll be scorching hot. But, I hadn't been running my car until, for a while I was talking to Rolando. And so I opened the cap and I put my phone in there and I look like, put the light in there and I look inside, and I walk away and I go, there's nothing in there. That thing is dry. There's nothing in, there's no coolant. And I know anybody listening to this is probably going to be like, well, you're an idiot. You're not taking care of your car. You're not. Before you go that route, listen to what I'm about to tell you. I had literally just went to Jiffy Lube. I sat, because of COVID, you don't get out of your car. They have you sit in your car while they do it, so you watch them. Me and my kids were in my car. They did the oil change and they topped off all my fluids. I said, did you get the coolant? Did you get it? And the guy said, we got everything. I said, all right, cool. The guy did not touch my coolant. In fact, they probably drained it and they were supposed to refill it, and they didn't do it. My tank was empty, completely dry. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try this out. I walked in there and the guy goes, hey, you called about the tank, right? And I said, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to buy some coolant first. He said, yeah, let me help you out. He said, what do you need? I go, just give me the little $10 one. He said, okay. He's like, I just need to see. I'm going to put it in there. I need to check for leaks. It's dry. I don't know. The guy at Jiffy Lube must have screwed up, didn't take care of it. I go, but I want to put some fluid in there just to see if it leaks. So I put a good portion in there, filled it up, put the cap on and started it. And then I kind of started feeling around the tank. I didn't feel any fluid, but it, because it was dry, it kind of went down again. So I put more in there, and then it maintained its max level. And again, I checked, boom, 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 nothing underneath. I stand there looking at my car, and I go inside. I go back into the driver's seat and I look at the thermometer, and it's literally, because when it's overheating, it goes past the midpoint, it goes to hot, and it's sitting right in the middle this time, perfect. And I sit there and I'm like shaking my head, and I walk into the AutoZone. I tell the guy, I go, hey man, it was coolant. I don't need the tank. He's like, good, man. He goes, hey, well, look, we got one. If something goes wrong tomorrow, whatever, I'll hold it in the back with your name on it just in case you need it, in case it isn't just a coolant. He goes, oh, hey, you always check the cheapest thing first before you spend the money, man. He goes, all right, man, I hope you have a great night. I said, thank you, man. He said, be blessed. And I looked at him. I said, I will. And it hit me. I stopped worrying about my situation. I stepped away, took care of a friend in need and who wanted something that had to do with God, had to do with Jesus, that was going to help him through a rough patch, because he's burying his father in the next day or two. And I just said, without a thought, I said, let me mail it to you. I bought it, sent it to him, and I sat there and I said, man, you're something else. You're something else. And I know a lot of people who don't believe are probably going to be like, it's just a coincidence, man. Quit making a bigger deal out of it. But I'm going to tell you right now, I have been through so much. I've been through hell and back, man. If you are new to this podcast, go back to episode 1 and catch up, because you'll know what I'm talking about. I have literally been through hell and back. So when I tell you something like this can only be God, It can only be God. Because I know where I was and I know where I am now. And it's because of my faith and because of the things that I've decided to do with my life and walk a certain way and walk away from certain things that weren't helping me, that weren't beneficial to me, that weren't good for my spirit, weren't good for my heart, my mental, and weren't good for my kids. I immediately closed my eyes standing there and I thank God. I told him so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for giving me that time out. Thank you for that timing. Thank you for having Rolando hit me at that moment and pulling me away from that anger and pulling me away from being, thinking of myself and making a situation that was this big into a larger one because I was so angry. Thank you for that and using me to take something that has to do with your word and passing it along to my buddy that's going to help him and maybe bring him that much closer to you. Thank you for that. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is when you get to a point in your life where things are smooth and things are going great, and you've got peace now, and not only in your mind but in your heart, and just in life, when you have peace, there are going to be things that come that are gonna shake you. They're gonna grab your chain and tug at it just to see how strong you really are, or if you're still that same person. They're gonna jab at you. They're gonna try and get you out of your zone. That is the time where you need to step aside, and remember, I'm past all that. There is a reason why I am the man or the woman I am right now. And I have to remember that. I share that with you because I'm human. I forgot about it. During that time, I was just caught up in the moment. I was angry. But I got that little reminder. Yo, you're not this guy anymore. You're not the guy who starts cussing left and right, throwing stuff, kicking his car, being upset, saying, why me? How come you always do this to me? I've been doing good. Why aren't you helping me? Why do I got to go through this? You're not that guy no more. Instead, you're the guy whoever that you love, or the people that you care about, or people you don't know, you're the guy who's always helping people, trying to be of assistance, trying to be a blessing to other people. That's who you are. You're not that person anymore. And that was a reminder to me. So I share this with you again to tell you, when you get to these moments in life that start to test you, reel it back in, reel it all back in, and remember what got you to your peace. And just breathe and take it easy, okay? Because remember, you've put in a lot of work. If you're like me, you've put in a lot of work. And don't let a moment like that destroy it. Don't let something that happens that's so minor, don't turn it into something big. All right? And I've had to do that so many times recently, man. Little stuff has been happening, and I've just had to keep my cool, bite my tongue, and just be the good person that I'm trying to be every day. And it isn't easy. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, because it's not. But take your time, sit back, remember how you got to where you were, and the situation can change for you. All right? I mean that. All right? You've come too far. I know I've come too far. I don't want to go back to what the person that I was. I don't want to go back to the person I was in episode 1. All right? I always reference, episode 1, because that was the introduction to who I am and how I ended up doing this podcast. So again, if you haven't listened to episode 1, you really should listen to it, because then you'll really understand everything about this podcast and why I do it and who I am. All right. So that's really all I have. I wanted to keep it short. I wanted to keep it to 25 minutes, and that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day, night. I'm recording this tonight. By the time you hear this, it'll be Monday morning. I love you guys. Again, I'm on Instagram. It's Ray Molina, and the podcast is The Perfect Mess Pod on Instagram. My website is raymolina.com. The Cash App to donate is $ It's Ray Molina. I love you guys. I will see you on the flip side. God bless. Peace.
Perfect mess is my perfect mess. Perfect mess is my perfect mess.